this is actually a very good question, why America would become Muslim, and it gives me great pleasure to answer it. As we know, America doesn't have an official moral system, it doesn't have an official religion, and I'm saying that this is a problem. Americans ought to feel uneasy about the fact that they don't have an official religion because, well, because everybody else has a proper religion, or at least knows to declare what religion they have. So we have the West, which is known for its liberal values, but we also know that there's something not quite right. It's really not quite right that that Western governments are not supporting marriage and are, in fact, asking, well, discouraging Westerners from marrying and having children. So it would be a bit like your parents telling you not to marry and not to have children because, well, you wouldn't want to contaminate the world with your filthy genes. So you may think that it is cruel of your parents to say this, possibly if there is no good reason why you shouldn't have children. But they may be saying that because they think you are genetically diseased, mentally ill, and you're just going to make a mess of your marriage, and your children will not be a credit to you or them or your parents. So that might be a good reason not to have children if you are unfortunate enough to suffer from some hereditary disease. Tracy Emin is an interesting case because it was actually her mother who told her not to have children because, from what I can remember, Tracy Emin's mum was tired of having to nurse people, family members who became ill, and she didn't want to be left holding the babies of Tracy Emin when she predicted Tracy Emin would, well, lose interest in her offspring and push it on to her mother, and the mother didn't want any of that. So that was why Tracy Emin's mother said to Tracy, "Don't have children." But if our parents were to say this, or if we as parents said this to our grandchildren, to our children, this would suggest that there's something wrong with the children. So why would your government actually not want to keep you in existence, not to keep the country that they govern in existence? Because obviously you can't have a country without people. You can have a piece of land, of course, but why would you have, a desert or a cemetery or a mortuary? So it is actually rather sinister. You can't get anyone to talk about it, or anyone, in a senior position to explain it to you without, well, they don't really want to engage on the subject, do they? They want to give you their one-liner answer and leave the room before you formulate your next question. They're certainly not interested in a in a dialogue. So I think that is basically the problem, that Americans don't support marriage, and that means US vassal states don't support marriage because they basically follow neoconservatism and neoliberalism and liberal social policies of matriarchy. So I'm saying the reason why Western governments are not encouraging Westerners to marry and have children is because there is some suspicion of illness, I guess. Illness in the parents, I suppose. They think they're suffering from some hereditary disease and they have children and they think their children are going to turn out bad and the grandchildren are going to turn out bad. And that's why they tell people not to marry and have children. And if Westerners are concerned about their government's attitude towards birth rates, they should just ask themselves why their government doesn't want them to breed. I mean, imagine if you were a child and your parents told you not to have children. You'd have to ask why. And if your parents were acting for good reasons, it would be because they think you have some hereditary disease that is going to mess up your life and that of your offspring. So that's the reason why they don't want you to have offspring. Let's assume for a moment that these reasons are not benign. They're mad. The Western ruling classes are mad or evil or stupid, and they don't want Westerners to populate the West. They have perhaps this sinister plan to lower the birth rate and decrease the population, and even as they suck in immigrants from abroad in the West, their plan is to also make these immigrants eventually mostly die childless, gay, or sterilized after becoming transgender. So it is possible that the West is some kind of a black hole of humanity where it basically destroys its own human stock, imports the human stock of other countries, and destroys that human stock, and will keep sucking them in from non-Western parts of the world until humanity is extinct. So what is the antidote to this problem? I think it can only be to reverse the policies of feminism, and it is to support marriage when it hasn't been supported by the government for half a century. That would be a start. And I guess if Americans want to have descendants, they would have to support a moral system or a religion that supports marriage. It really is as simple as that. And they know that Christianity has been replaced by liberalism, and liberalism in the 21st century is only about sexual liberation from the rules of marriage and good parenting, and it's no good. And if you're a Westerner, you would know that fascism has crashed and burned, and so has Nazism, and so has communism. And it's not like the Westerners haven't tried other forms of secular political ideologies that are not liberalism. They've tried others, and they've all failed. And basically, they've tried all the wrong ways first. So they might as well try the only rational and moral choice if they wish to remain in existence as a nation and a race. Thank you for listening.